Hello everyone, it's Happy, and today we're going to be talking about the VK9001P, the German Tier 10 heavy tank. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. We're about to start, so grab something to drink, as well as something to eat, and let's go! Alright, traditionally we're going to be starting off in the garage. We're going to be talking about the provisions, ammunition, equipment, etc, etc. But I really want to talk about how well this tank was made in terms of in the game. Like, the designers put a lot of effort into making the model. So in terms of stats, what I did for this in a small session yesterday was 3050 damage, I think, and something like 67% of a win rate. It's very hard to play for damage on this thing because it's only goes for 30 kilometers, and the alpha isn't that big like the E100 has. So, but by 100 battles, hopefully, we will get a 3100 on the thing. And yeah, I changed my name, for those of you wondering, to Professor Happy, to whatever I had before. Alright, so in terms of consumables, I don't really use the special consumable. I don't know why. I just think it's quite useless. The duration is 20 seconds, so it's there for 2 shots. But who uses the VK to snipe long distance? I don't know. I'd rather have adrenaline, and I think adrenaline would be far more useful, especially because you're going to be fighting close range a lot more on this particular tank. Therefore, the special provision, special consumable it has, in my opinion, is quite useless. That's all I have to say about that, and everything else is quite standard. In terms of provisions, I have a chocolate, like the big chocolate, because it helps improve everything, and I have a enhanced sandbag to increase the HP, because the HP on this thing is quite poor, I'm not gonna lie. And then I try and increase the mobility and speed of this thing with improved fuel, because it really is a slow tank, a bit faster than the E100 and the VK in the tech tree, but still. In terms of ammunition, everything is also standard. And in terms of equipment, I use vertical stabilizer and enhanced gun lane drive, because again, we're a heavy and we have to play close range instead of trying to snipe. I don't know where you're going to snipe with this thing. And the pen is already good, but we're going to talk about this in a second, and everything else is quite standard for the tank. And in terms of improved assembly or enhanced armor, I would choose the HP pool increase, because the HP pool is quite poor on this thing, and even then your lower plate is already very weak, so there's no point in trying to cover something up. Other than the lower plate, this tank has pretty much no weaknesses at all. So yeah, that's all I had to say about the equipment, consumables, etc. Alright, so if we compare the VK9001 Porsche to the E100, VK7201K, and the mouse, then it has one of the better DPMs compared to these tanks. However, overall, comparing it to tanks like the E5 or the AMX 50B, D57, etc, etc, then it lacks a lot in terms of DPM, because 2600 for tier 10 isn't that great. However, this is compensated by 275 millimeters of penetration, compared to, for example, 245 on the mouse. This tank has the best penetration in terms of heavy tanks in tier 10. That is amazing. Add 460 alpha on top of that, and sometimes you get very good high rolls, 500 something, and that's just great. That's really good, and you'll be able to penetrate everything. However, I don't suggest you guys switch to calibrated shells, because then you literally just kill off your DPM, which is going to be 2400, which really sucks. In terms of shell velocity, it has the same as the mouse, but that's because their calibers are the same. So yeah, that's all I have to talk about the tank in general. Alright, so in terms of weapon handling, in terms of aim time and dispersion, again, it is one of the best compared to the German tech tree heavy tanks at tier 10. Even compare the aim time and dispersion to the IS-4, for example, and it will still be better. I don't know why. The gun caliber is a lot bigger than the IS-4, and the alpha damage is also bigger, but the aim time and dispersion on this thing are a lot better compared to the IS-4. I don't know why, don't ask me why. So it's a very good. In terms of gun depression, it has -10 degrees. That is amazing. No other tank has a minus 10 degrees in terms of the tech tree, in the German tech tree, I mean, at tier 10. Everyone else has minus 7, minus 8. However, this tank's turret is at the back, therefore it only goes 10 degrees when you are turning to the side, but that is still fine because you will play off of the ridge lines very, very well, and your turret armor will also help you do this with ease. Alright, so before we talk about the mobility, let's not forget that the VK9001P is a Porsche, and it does have a Porsche engine, okay? Just don't forget about that. And now let's check the stats. In terms of engine power, it has 1100, and the E100 and the VK7201 have 1320, while the mouse has 1925. Why? The Porsche engine should have, like, I don't know, it should at least be more than 1100, in my opinion at least, because it is a Porsche. The power to weight ratio, however, is higher than other German tier 10 heavy tanks at 12. The others have around 10, well, relatively 10. In terms of effective horsepower per ton, again, it has 11 compared to 10 or 9 something on the others. And the terrain resistance is quite average for German heavy tanks. However, this tank is very slow, 30 kilometers per hour is nothing, and that is why doing damage on this tank is very, very hard. So if you sweat for damage, it's going to be very hard doing damage on this thing because of the speed, which is only 30, and if you choose the wrong flank or you choose the wrong direction, you pretty much lost your stats for that game, because going from one flank to the other is going to take ages for this tank. The only weakness in terms of armor this tank has is the lower plate, and even then the lower plate is 240 millimeters. That means medium tanks at tier 10 have a 50-50% chance of penetrating you in the lower plate. That's crazy, but then you turn the tank and it becomes 260 millimeters, so from 250 to 260 millimeters, and tier 10 mediums have no chance of penetrating you. Per plate on this thing has 350 millimeters plus, therefore no one's penning you there, only if you start face hugging enemies, and I do not recommend face hugging them because your gun will not go down, so never face hug anyone, but your upper plate is still very, very strong. Now, the best thing about this tank is side scraping. No other tank in the game can side scrape like the VK9001P. That's because the turret is at the back, therefore you should not fear someone shooting you in the lower plate when you are side scraping. You can side scrape, your sides are 500 to 700 millimeters, and you have tracks. That means your tracks will eat their damage and no one is ever going to pen you to the side. And this is the best thing about the tank. You can side scrape all day against whoever and no one can do anything to you. You can just watch people HE you instead. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that the fact that the front of the VK's turret is a 300 millimeters plus. So good luck penetrating that with AP, and even with gold, the 310 to 305 millimeter place is super small, so you're never gonna hit it anyway. Alright, so if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you want to see next, and see you guys next time. Happy is out.